Hello YouTube and welcome to today's video. In today's video I'm going to be explaining Kaostanza's new QRE build and basically gonna go a little bit in depth about it because I've been playing with it myself and give my personal opinion on if this is a build that you should be trying out or be playing or basically be avoiding. So if you don't know who Kaostanza is, Kaostanza was the guy who reached rank 1 on US in season 11. And he's basically playing Kha Zix again. He was previously known for playing Kha Zix many years ago, and then his new main champion became Talon in season 9, and since season 9 throughout season 9, 10, and 11, he was a Talon main, and with the recent Talon changes, he's now back to playing Kha Zix. And now with him being back playing Kha Zix, he has been playing with a build that I have not seen before. And you're basically seeing the build on screen right now. So we can start with the runes. So in the runes he has Dark Harvest as his keystone. Pretty standard on Kha Zix. Most people take either Electrocute or Dark Harvest. Then we have Sudden Impact, also pretty standard. Sudden Impact, also pretty standard. And then he takes Ultimate Hunter, which is a little bit of surprise for Kha Zix. Usually what people will do with Q Evolve and what I personally recommend is going Ravenous Hunter, and then Ingenious Hunter is if you play with Prowler's Claw and the R Evolve build, and then Relentless Hunter is pretty good overall because it gives you movement speed, but Kaostanza chooses to play with Ultimate Hunter. And this actually brings his ult to a fairly low cooldown, meaning that he can more often look for plays because all he's basically relying on is engaging with his ult and then getting some resets together with his Duskblade item for even more invis. So at first I was a little bit skeptical about it, but it actually doesn't feel that bad. So yeah, that's basically what he decides to choose for the Hunter runes. Then he goes Inspiration second, and he goes Magical Footwear, and he goes Cosmic Insight. Also pretty standard on a lot of junglers. Personally, what I recommend is Futures Market, but Kaostanza chooses to play with boots, and then the Cosmic Insight is basically just to get Flash and Smite up more often. And then for runes she plays double AD and 1 armor, which is pretty standard. So those are basically the runes, and then as I already mentioned, his evolutions are Q at level 6, R at level 11, and then at level 16 he will evolve E, meaning that he has no W evolve. Now this is very uncommon, and this is not something that I typically recommend, because typically I recommend either evolving Q or R, meaning that if you evolve your Q, then you do QWE, and if you evolve your ulti, then you do RWE. So I don't typically recommend combining these two, and I'll explain why. Without having your W, you don't have any utility. So this build has no utility. It cannot help your teammates in teamfights with kiting. It cannot help you kiting out people and chase people. It basically is a 1v9 build. And what do I mean by that? I mean, this build does not set up for your teammates to do something in teamfights. It's strictly all on you and your own mechanics. You're engaging with your ulti, you press W and then auto Q, hopefully one shot someone. If not, then you press R again, and then you press auto Q, and then hopefully by then they're dead, and then you reset onto another target, and you reset onto another target, another target, another target. So this means every team fight, every skirmish fight comes down to you and your mechanical outplays, and not so much setting up for the team or waiting for the team to engage. It is basically you flanking and solo 1v9 in the game. So this build is really, really good if you are known with Kha Zix limits, knowing how much damage he can do and how to get in and out of team fights. And if you have good mechanics, because you need good mechanics with this build in order to survive, because you don't have your W evolve, so you cannot slow your opponents, meaning that your opponents can basically chase after you as soon as you get out of invis. Now let's talk about the build. So he goes Red Smite, pretty standard, into a Duskblade, also pretty standard, and then he goes Boots of Swiftness, which is not common on Kha Zix. And the reason why he goes Boots of Swiftness is basically for the increased movement speed that he gets from boots, and because he has his ult, he gets a lot more movement speed together with also Ghostblade. So this gives him a ton of movement speed that he can be using for engaging, disengaging, and whatnot. So A little bit uncommon, but that is basically what he's running, and the reason why is because it synergizes with these 3 things right here. Then he goes Ghostblade after, and then he will typically go for either Edge of Night or Cerulean Grudge, depending on the enemy team comp. So you see that here he goes for an Edge of Night, and here he goes for a Cerulean Grudge. It kind of depends on enemy team comp, if they're tanky, if they're squishy, and that's basically the core build. So again, another example you can see here, and you can also see it here, that here he actually goes both Edge of Night and then Cerulean after, and you see Q, R, and E evolve, and he goes the same runes every single game. So, do I recommend going this build? For low elo, no, I don't recommend going this. I still recommend going for QWE because it gives you some utility, and because typically lower elo players does not have the mechanics or the game knowledge fully understood in order to play with this 1v9 build. So it's a little bit better to play with a build that has maybe a little bit damage or a little bit less carry potential, but feels more safe and has more utility in it. On the other hand, if you are a little bit higher elo, if you are a Kha Zix main, have mained the champion for a couple of years, if you're one trick, you can try out this build and see if you can carry with the build. And if you can carry with the build, then you can keep on going. If you realize, okay, I can't actually solo carry, then you should probably just keep playing either QWE or RWE. But yeah, this is basically Kaostanza's very recent Kha Zix build. He's playing it in Challenger. He's Challenger right now in Season 12 and has been for a few weeks at this point. And I'll be linking his stream down in the comment section down below. So if you guys want to check out his stream, you guys can do that. And I've also personally been playing around with this build on my own Smurf accounts on both on the West and on Oregon East between Diamond 2 and Masters Elo. I have not played it on my main account. On main account, I'm still doing RWE with Prowler's Claw, but that's a different story. And I have a video already regarding that setup that you can watch on my channel here. But if you enjoyed the video, remember to leave a like. If you have any questions regarding this build, or if there's something that you didn't understand regarding the runes, the build, or the playstyle of this Kha Zix build, then let me know in the comment section down below. Otherwise, if you enjoy the content, please subscribe to my channel. It will help me out a lot. And then I hope to see you guys in my next YouTube video or on my next live stream on Twitch. See you guys.